Okay, we got another good morning news update here for Ohio Political News. Now it's like I just stand in complete awe at what this guy is doing. Unbelievable. So we'll talk about all that here in just a minute because it looks like that war may be wrapping up very, very quickly. They're going to be signing some peace treaty agreements and everything on Friday. And we're going to start getting the ships out of there. Oil prices are going to start to drop drastically. They've already started dropping drastically, and this is going to continue to drop. And so let's just see how all this pans out. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I do want to get to the main story here tonight, this morning actually. And that is this thing right here, Ohio Political News Morning Update. The Cleveland voter group raided by the FBI. Democrats don't want you to hear this story. They're biting their fingernails, the Democrats right now. Does not look good. Okay, let's get to some of the key issues and points about all of this. The FBI had a search warrant. A lot of times you're going to hear, oh, they didn't have no search warrant. You cannot go and raid an organization as large as the OOC, and the OOC stands for the Office, no, I'm sorry, it's the Ohio Organizing Collaborative, which means nothing. You know, it's just one of those names that just is blah, intentionally blah, so that you just forget about it. Ohio Organizing Collaborative, which says nothing, but it's the OOC, okay? Big Democrat operative organization. Maybe the biggest in Ohio. Okay, so the FBI had a search warrant. We know that. So the judge approved it. We don't know who, but they approved it. You've got to show the evidence, and all this will come out soon. All of this will be public soon, but right now it's not. But they will show us what the evidence was that was presented to the judge, and the judge looks at it and he goes, you better get your you-know-what over there into Cleveland and start cleaning something up, okay? The investigation reportedly centers on voter fraud. That much we know. The OOC is not a small local group. This isn't just a bunch of people out trying to get voter registration. They received $55 million from 2020 to 2024. That's a lot of cash-owski for a nonprofit organization. That's a lot of donation money. Who's giving them it? That would be interesting to find out. But irrelevant to that, nobody's going to be pumping $55 million into a organization that does registering voters if there isn't something that they're giving back in return for that $55 million bucks. So let's not be dumb here or foolish. Okay, there have been no public charges announced yet, nothing, and that'll take time. FBI wants to do it in secretiveness. And political reaction, of course, is partisan. Absolutely partisan. The Republicans are like throwing parties and whooping it up, and the Democrats are crying in their beer. Let's just look at Chantel Brown, who is a congresswoman out of Northeast Ohio.
Trump's FBI raided Cleveland and sent federal agents across the state to harass Ohioans who did nothing more than help their neighbors.
Yeah, okay, so as I said before, we've got to get a proper perspective on this. They're just not harassing individuals, Ohioans here or there or anything like that. They're going after this organization that is a multi-million-dollar organization that has issues, very, very strong inclination that there's a lot of fraud possibly going on. And you don't bring in 100, maybe 120, some people have said, FBI agents, unless you mean business. That's what we...
to vote. This is a diabolical abuse of power. And let's be very clear about what's happening.
And let's be very clear about something else. The abuse of power would be with the OOC, not with the FBI. The FBI is trying to get to the bottom of this. The abuse of power is from this organization if they are found guilty. That's where the abuse of power lies.
Donald Trump is once again weaponizing the federal government.
Once again, Donald Trump isn't weaponizing anybody. He's trying to clean up the voter rolls. And those voter rolls in a lot of states, including Ohio, need to be cleaned up. And if the feds don't come in and do it, the state government never does it. Never. And these groups, keep this in mind. These groups do not get paid all this kind of money just to go around registering people. They get paid this kind of money to do shenanigans, to find ways of getting around the mail-in balloting, loopholes, and trying to sway elections. That is really what it's about, trying to sway elections, and people are willing to pay big money for that. Let's not fool ourselves.
Intimidate political opponents, to interfere in the midterms, and to ice voter registration, especially in black and brown communities.
Oh, of course, in the black, the brown communities. We're going where the fraud is. And if the fraud is in the black and the brown communities, that's where the FBI is going to go. And it's just like with the Medicaid. When you started going after the Somalians, oh, it's racism. No. If the massive amount of fraud is with the Bhutanese and with the Somalians, with the home health care medical fiasco that's going on in Ohio right now, then that's who you go after. And it is not racist. It's cleaning up the fraud, for crying out loud. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of heads rolling. A lot of heads rolling on this. And we'll just have to stay tuned for it. Let's talk about data centers. Data centers here. This is interesting. The Ohio Department of Taxation released new data, and it shows that a sales tax exemption for data centers cost our state of Ohio $1.6 billion. So we lost $1.6 billion on sales use tax exemptions given to these data centers in 2025. That's a huge chunk of change. $1.6 billion. That could have been going to those local communities. It's 11 times higher than that was originally forecasted. And I know that there's some state representatives who are fuming about this because the information the state reps was given and was $136 million in loss. And the real number is $1.6 billion. So I don't know who funded them this information. The Data Center Tax Organization, which is a government Ohio-run organization, is the one that came up with a stupid number, and you should fire every one of those accountants. How can you make an error that's 11 times worse than it's supposed to be? I don't think it was on an error done in error, if you catch what I'm saying. Sounds like it was more something arm twisting to make it sound better so that these data centers can get in a foothold here in Ohio. I don't mind data centers coming to Ohio. I don't think most people mind it. But what we mind about the data centers is there is no honesty when these massive structures are plucked down onto farmlands and near residential areas and everything. They're all done in secretiveness. There's NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. That is to keep everything quiet and simmering under the table. Nothing to see here. If there's nothing to see here, then don't do the stupid NDA. Well, you can do it. Don't do it. All right? Don't do it. Let's see what else here. The Data Center Coalition hired 3 more attorneys for the State House. 3 more attorneys. Oh, boy, there's lots and lots of law firms and lobbyists now flying all around the State House. Last count, there was 53 of them that are in the ears of the state lawmakers all the time, telling them how great data centers are. And the common citizens, like Brian Massey has a website called Lobbyists for Citizens, because the citizens, you and I, are the only ones who don't have a lobbyist. But all corporations, entities, schools, you name it, they got tons of lobbyists always in the ears of the state reps and the state senators. And you and I, the taxpayers, now we ain't got nothing. Some have hired politically connected figures. Amazon, for instance, hired Michael Hall, DeWine's former chief of staff. He is now a lobbyist for Amazon. So he was Governor DeWine's former chief of staff, and he goes from that position over to being paid quite a bit for Amazon. Amazon is not going to pay you this unless you get results. And he's got the ear of DeWine. Spencer Gross. He's connected with Google. And he is also the chief of staff to House Speaker Matt Huffman. Now tell me he is not in the ear of Matt Huffman all the time. And Align Data Centers has hired Brenton Temple. He was the campaign manager for Governor DeWine in the 2022 re-election campaign. So he was like this with DeWine, and now he's a lobbyist for a data center company. He's got the ear of DeWine anytime he needs it. And the arm twisting and the subtle arm twisting and everything. And this goes on day after day after day after day. That's the problem with this stuff. We need people that are going to be lobbyists for us. And of course, data centers are facing increasing political and public scrutiny all the time. A lot of pushback by us. The data center coalitions have hired a fleet of 51 lobbyists, the bulk of the team for Google, 19. Meta has 14 lobbyists. The National Data Center Coalition, has spent more than $10,000 on Facebook ads since May 23rd in Ohio here. And of course, they're saying that healthcare, education, public safety, Ohio's data centers make it all possible, supporting 84,000 jobs, thousands of high-wage construction roles, and generating billions of dollars in tax revenue for local residences and services. I don't understand how all that's happening. If that's all happening, everything is so good, then just pay your stupid property taxes. Don't take these 15-year tax abatements, for crying out loud. Pay your property taxes. Give us our fair share of the money. But no, they don't want to pay sales use tax. No, they don't want to pay any property taxes. But, oh, look at what we're doing for your community. So anyhow, that's the data center stuff. But keep fighting. As I said, I'm not against data centers. I'm against all this, the corruption of the secrecy and everything. And that's what we should be fighting nonstop. Do not let these big wig organizations walk all over us. And if they want to take their data centers somewhere else, take it somewhere else. But you can tell when push comes to shove, they don't want to do that. Why do you think they hired 53 new lobbyists? Because they want them here in Ohio. They don't want to be going to another state. They like it here in Ohio. It's a good place to plop a huge data center. Well, make them pay. Twist their arms a little bit. We're just everybody walks over us. The state reps, the state senates, they get walked over too easily. All right. I want to talk here for a minute about Trump because on Sunday he announced that the U.S. and Iran had reached a preliminary framework agreement to end the war, which is fantastic news, in the Strait of Hormuz. They created a memorandum of understanding. It was going to be signed. It will be signed Friday in Switzerland. And the main pieces of the deal, they are going to reopen the Strait of Hormuz on Friday. And this will end the U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports. It will end military operations, thus ending the war. There is one caveat, there is one problem to this whole deal, and that is that a U.S. official told Reuters the eventual agreement would lead to dismantling Iran's nuclear program that has highly enriched uranium. But Iranian officials are not saying that. Iranian officials are saying that Iran wants to keep the uranium in diluted form inside the country. And that's a major big stumbling block. There's no way you're going to let those Arabs keep that enriched uranium. Oh, we're just going to keep it in diluted form. We're not going to touch it or anything. But we just want to look at it every day. Look at it and slobber over it and say, oh, how beautiful that is. Yeah, right. So obviously that's a sticking point. They got to get rid of all of their enriched uranium. And Trump is saying, yeah, that's part of the deal. So we'll see. The problem with dealing with the Iranians and these Arab countries is They'll sign all the paperwork you want, and then the next day they'll just burn it up and start firing missiles again. So we'll see what happens. Boy, it's complicated when you get to the Middle East, though. Complicated dealing with those people. Last thing, a couple of numbers here on ad spending and here in Ohio. The John Husted and Sherrod Brown race coming up. This is massive, guys. This could, in Ohio, determine who has the power in the Senate, the U.S. Senate, right here in Ohio, because Sherrod Brown, Democrats are going to pour everything they've got into Ohio to make sure that he wins. And the Republicans have got to hold that seat with John Husted. They're estimating right now that that race will be $377 million. That's how much both sides are expected to spend to win that Senate race right now. It's estimated that it will balloon up to $377 million by the time November rolls around. And one other thing on numbers here in Ohio, Jennifer Brunner, who is Supreme Court, she is on the Ohio Supreme Court. I'll give you her numbers. She has $136,000 right now in the bank account for campaigning. Jennifer Brunner, $136,000. And Colleen O'Donnell, the Republican who is going to face her in November, has a total of just $17,000. So I think Judge Colleen O'Connor has got to start getting moving there and start getting some money. But it's not fair to just say that without also including that Judge Colleen O'Donnell, that she just went through a really rigorous primary. I mean, it was a tough primary battle. And she spent all her money winning the primary. Now she's got to recoup and rebuild it. But as I've said before, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, she's behind. She doesn't have the money that Jennifer Brunner has right now. But it'll start to build up. The donors will start coming in. And all of the experience and the fire, and she's got the fire in her belly, as she keeps saying, that just propels you and it makes you prepared for November. She's going to be out on the campaign trail, and she's going to be doing a great job. So we'll have to see what happens there. All right. Well, anyhow, that's about it. I'm going to get out of here. It is a Monday, unfortunately. All right, you guys take care. And remember, the FBI is in Cleveland looking at OOC.